Hey guys, it's JCube, and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be the first video in my 3x3 tutorial series, where I'll be doing a beginners, intermediate, and advanced videos. And in this video, I'm going to be teaching the beginner's method tutorial, so let's get into it. To start off, let's go over some basics on the Rubik's Cube and learn some terms that I'll be using later in the video. This is a 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube, or just a 3x3 for short. There are three types of pieces on the Rubik's Cube. The corner pieces, which have 3 colors on them, the edge pieces, which have 2 colors on them and are in between 2 corner pieces, and finally there are the center pieces, which always stay in the same place. If you move this edge piece, its position will move around the cube. But no matter how much you turn the cube, the white centerpiece will always stay right there. And so, because the centerpieces always stay in the same place, they also have the same relative positions. For example, no matter how much you turn the cube, the white centerpiece will always be opposite of the yellow centerpiece. The method we'll be learning has 7 steps and is a layer-by-layer method. Contrary to popular belief, the Rubik's Cube is not solved side by side, but it's actually solved layer by layer. We'll see more of that when we're actually solving the cube. So let's do a zoomed out overview of the method we'll be using to solve the cube. Hopefully, this can give you an idea of what we'll be getting into. Steps 1 through 3 finish the first 2 layers and are also what I call the intuitive part of the solving method. It's called the intuitive part because this part does not require much memorization of any sort, but just a bit of practice and time to catch on and become proficient at it. Steps 4 through 7 are what I call the algorithm part. An algorithm is simply just a set of moves that you memorize to help you solve the cube. You've probably already guessed it, but this part requires some memorization of algorithms. To do these algorithms, we use cube notation, which are just convenient ways of describing how to move the sides of the cube. We'll learn more on algorithms and notation later in the video when we're going over the algorithm part. So to zoom in a bit more, the first of the 7 steps is to solve the white cross. In step 2, we solve the white corners. That finishes the first layer. In step 3, we do what I call the second layer edges, and it's called this because this step finishes the second layer. In the 4th step, we solve a yellow cross. And then we finish the yellow corners by the 5th step. Then, the final 2 steps are split into 2 parts, the final layer part 1 and the final layer part 2, where we just use a bit of algorithms to solve the last few parts of the cube. So that's pretty much it for what you need to know. It might seem like a lot, so if you need a refresher on that info later, or need to watch it again right now, feel free to do so. Solving the Rubik's Cube is a challenging task, and I applaud you for deciding to take the challenge. Be sure to take your time and understand each step, and I'll do my best to explain everything as thoroughly as possible. One thing before we start solving though, is that I strongly encourage you to develop an intuitive feel for the Rubik's Cube by just trying to solve one side. Without any tutorials or help, just sit down and try to solve one side. This will help you both consciously and subconsciously learn how the pieces move around the cube, and this will greatly help in the intuitive part of the solving process. Now let's get started with the first step. So as you may already know, our first step is to make a white cross. And in order to do this, we're going to make a white cross around the yellow centerpiece. And remember, the white and the yellow side will always be opposite of each other. And so, to get started, to make a white cross around the yellow centerpiece, we're just going to take the white edges and put them around the yellow centerpiece. So here we have the white and green edge piece, and we're going to move it so that it's around the yellow centerpiece. And let's look around. Here's the white and orange one. And so we'll just move that up. And here's a common case that's a little bit tricky when it's like this. It's not just one move away. You can't get it there. But all you can do is just turn this side either right to the right or to the left, and then you can move it up. But here, that would be messing up what we already have. So then we'll have to move what we already have over so that we can make space for this edge piece. And here, the white and blue edge piece is just simply moving it up. And you should have something similar to this at the end. Of course, you won't have exactly what I have, but this is the goal. So for this next step, we're going to get these white edge pieces down to the white side so that we can have our white cross. So to do this, we're just going to pick a side. Let's say we pick the red side. Then all we're going to do is turn this top layer until this color matches with this color. And then once we have that, we're going to turn this side 2 times. And you'll see that it's down with the white side now. And we're going to keep repeating this. So we'll rotate, that's the green side. Okay, and there we are. Now that the white and green edge is matching with this centerpiece, we're going to turn that side twice. And we've already got part of the white cross now. And now for the orange side, there we go. We're going to turn it twice. And lastly, the blue side. Now we have our white cross. So for this next step, we're going to be solving the white corners. And here, there's a bunch of different cases you could encounter, and I'll walk through some of the most common ones so that you can apply what you see here to what you have on your cube. And so here, we have this corner piece, the white, orange, and blue corner piece. Now, it just so happens that it's right under where it's supposed to go, but if it wasn't, say it was over here, then we would have to move it so that it's right under the slot where it's going to go. See here, the white, blue, and edge, that's where this corner piece would be. So what we're going to do to solve this is have the white facing us, and then we're going to turn it so that we can't see the white. So if we turn it this way, we can still see it, but if we turn it this way, we can't see it. And now we're going to move this slot down, then we're going to move the corner piece in, and then we're going to move this side back up. And as you can see, the corner piece is now solved. Now here, we have a similar case with the white, orange, and green corner, but first we got to move it under where it's going to go, then turn it so that we can't see the white. Not this way, but this way. And then we're going to move where it's going to go, the slot down, and we're going to move the corner piece in, and then we're going to move this back up. And as you can see, the corner piece is where it should be. Now here's a case you might encounter. If the white corner piece is already right here, but it's not oriented correctly, then what you're going to do is just take it out. So you're going to have to move the side it's on down, move it over, and then you got to fix the cross, so move that back up. And as you can see, now it's out of here. This is another case you will encounter if the white corner is facing down. As we saw before with these two, if the white sticker is facing in one of these two directions, just move it under, turn it so that you can't see the white, move the slot down, move it in, and then back up. But if the white sticker is facing downwards, then what we'll have to do is turn the side it's on down, then move the bottom layer twice, and then turn that side back up to fix the cross. And then now you can see that the white sticker is facing in one of these two directions. And so we can approach this as we did the earlier cases. We'll move it below where it's going to go, turn it so that we can't see the white, move the slot down, move it in, and up. And as you can see, it's solved. Now we have one last corner piece to solve. We can see that it's right here. It's just like the one we just did. The white sticker is facing down, so then we're going to have to turn the side it's on down. Now we could either move this side or this side. It doesn't matter. I'll move this side. And then we'll have to move the bottom layer twice to get it out of the way so that when we move this side back up, this corner piece is out of the way. And now let's move it under where it's going to go, right here, and then move it so that we can't see the white. Move where it's going to go, the slot down, move it in place, and then fix the cross. And as you can see, we have the first layer done. Now that we're done with the white cross and the white corners, it's now time to do the edges. And to do this, we're going to flip the cube so that the yellow side is facing up, and we're going to look for the edges right here in these spots. And so for example, right here, if we're imagining that the cube is solved, there would be the red and green edge piece, which happens to be right here. So then what we're going to do is have the yellow side face us. So we're going to rotate it so the yellow side is facing us. And what we have to do is make this edge piece that's going to go right here match with its corresponding centerpiece color. Now if this edge piece were over here, then all we would have to do is rotate it over here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this edge piece and we're going to move it away from where it's going to go. We're going to move the bottom layer towards where it's going to go. Then we're going to move the slot where it's going to go down, and we're going to move just this middle layer into where it's going to go. And as you can see, that's matching right there. And then we're going to move this side back up. Now, if we turn over here, we see that the white side is messed up. And so to fix it, you'll see this 3 white piece block right here. We'll just move that up. And then we'll have to move this edge piece either way, to the right or the left, it doesn't matter. I'll move it to the right because that's what I'm used to. And then what we're going to do is move this middle layer down. And then we're going to move this edge piece right there to match this up. And then we're going to move this middle layer back up. To fix the white, as you can see, the green and red edge piece is right where it's supposed to be. Now, that's an example of if an edge piece has to go from this position to this position. Now, you might be wondering what happens if an edge has to go from left to right instead. And that's what we have with this orange and green edge piece. And it's really the same process. We're going to have to match these two colors up. So if the edge piece was over here, we're going to move it over here. And keep in mind, this is all with the yellow side facing us. And then we're going to have to move this edge piece away from where it's going to go, which is right here. So away. We're going to move the bottom layer towards where it's going to go. So towards it. And then we're going to move where it's going to go down, and just this middle layer, this horizontal middle layer, so that this edge piece is matched up right there. Then we're going to move this whole side back up. Then once again, we see that the white side is messed up. We move this block up, the edge piece to either the right or left, move to the right, move this vertical middle turn down, move the edge piece in, and fix the white. Now we can see that the green and orange edge piece is right where it's supposed to be. Now another case you might see is if an edge piece is already in the slot, but it's not oriented correctly. What we want to do here is just take any other edge piece that's yellow, for example the yellow and green one, and we're going to pretend that this is the blue and red edge piece. And so what's going to happen is, as we're pretending that this is the blue and red edge piece, we're going to put it in here. That's going to make this edge piece come out. So let's try that. Let's pretend that this green is a red and this yellow is a blue. And we're going to put this right there. So we're going to move it away. We're going to move the bottom layer towards where it's going to go. We're going to move where it's going to go, that side down. Just the middle horizontal slice over. And then move this whole side back up. And then we have to fix the white. So we're going to move this white block up. Move the edge piece over. The middle down. Put the edge piece back in. And fix the white. Now we can see that the yellow and green edge piece is in here, and that made this edge piece come out. And now we can proceed as we would normally. So we match this up, and we see that the red and blue piece has to go to the right. And so we're going to move it away from where it's going to go, the bottom layer towards where it's going to go, move the side where it's going to go is down, move the edge piece into place, move that side back up, and then fix the white. And now we just have one more to go. Now here we have the blue and orange edge piece, and it's just like the one we just did. It's going from left to right. And now we've got these colors matched up. We'll proceed as normally. And now you can see that we have the whole second layer completed. So now that we're done with the first two layers, the next step is to solve the last layer. And this part of the solving method is called the algorithm section. And this is because we use algorithms in something called cube notation. Now, cube notation is just a very convenient way of describing how to move the parts of the cube. And cube notation is shown as like this. Okay, cube notation is described with letters that correspond to each side of the Rubik's Cube. So each side of the cube is given a name. This is the up layer, this is the down layer, this is the right layer, this side is the left layer, this is the front layer, and this is the back layer. And when we're using cube notation, we just use the first letter of the layer's names. So for example, if I say the R side, I'm referring to the right side. So here's an example algorithm. R, U, R prime, U, R, U2, R prime. Now you might be a bit confused by all those letters and prime and what I was saying, but let's break that down. So the first move is R. Now R refers to the right layer, and the reason R is turning it this way and not this way is because if we were facing the right side, then we see that turning it this way is clockwise, and that's how we denote which side you turn it. So R prime, which is how we say counterclockwise, would be this way, because if we were facing this side, then turning that side this way would be counterclockwise. And it's the same for all sides. If you were to imagine that you were facing that side, then you think which way would be clockwise and which way would be counterclockwise. So for the front layer, it's the easiest to kind of see, because we know that turning it this way is clockwise and the other way is counterclockwise. So this move is called F, and this move is called F prime. And so back to the algorithm, the first move is R, the second move is U, and it's just U, it's not U prime, meaning that we're turning this up layer clockwise. And so if we were to face the up layer, then it would be this way, right? And so we turn the up layer, U, and the next move is R prime. And we already know that R is this way, so we can just kind of think the opposite of that. Or we can think, if I were facing this side, R prime, which means the right side clockwise, would be this way. So we turn that side that way. And then the next move in the algorithm is U. We've already done a U. We know that it's just this way. Then the next move is an R. Then it's a U2. Now a U2, whenever we say a letter and then 2, it just means that we turn that side 2 times. But either direction, it doesn't really matter because you're turning it twice. And so from here we do a U2, 1, 2, and then we do an R prime, which is like this. So just for you to reference later, or just so you can see all the moves, I'm going to go through all the cube notations. R, R prime, L, L prime, F, F prime, B, B prime, U, U prime, and D, D prime. And you probably noticed that R is turning this side this way, but L is turning it this way. Now you might think that's kind of weird at first, but if you remember that when we just say the letter, that means if we were facing that side, for example, this is the left side right now, then this would be clockwise, right? And so L would be this, and L prime, which would be this way, is this. And also another thing to note is that the sides for the cube notation are not determined. For example, this side isn't going to always be the front side. If I'm facing this way, then the red side is the front side, and this green side becomes the left side. And so know that all the cube notations are relative to where you are facing. And so later on, when I'm teaching algorithms, I will be sure to mention something like green facing you and yellow facing up, and then do the algorithm. So you probably don't have what I have right here. And that's because there's 57 possible cases for what pattern you'll have up here. But don't worry, you don't have to memorize an algorithm for each of them right now. So the possible cases are that you have all the edges oriented, a bar shape, right angle, or none of the edges oriented. And keep in mind, right now, we're not looking at the corners, we're just looking at how the edges are oriented. So one of these cases, as I mentioned, is a bar shape. And you also probably don't have what I have right here. But if you have a bar shape like this, regardless of what the corners look like, then you should make it horizontal. So if it's like this, then make it horizontal. After this, we're going to execute an algorithm. And that algorithm goes F, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime. And as you can see, all the edges are oriented now. And another case is if you have a right angle. And if you have a right angle, I want you to make it so that it looks like a clock saying 9 o'clock. So for example, if it were over here, then you'd have to move it over here. Remember, you probably won't have exactly what I have right here. This corner might be flipped like this, or it might be not. But I want you to make it so that it's 9 o'clock. And then we're going to do this algorithm. F, U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime. And as you can see, we have all the yellow edges oriented, and that's our goal here, to get a yellow cross. So another possibility, as I mentioned, is having no edges oriented. And by oriented, I just mean facing up, because our goal here is to get a yellow cross. And so if you have something like this, where you have no yellow edges oriented, then all you have to do is either the bar shape algorithm or the right angle algorithm. And then you're going to have to do the other algorithm after that. For example, if you decide to do the right angle algorithm first, then you're going to get a bar shape, and then you'll have to do the bar shape algorithm. But let's say that you decide to do the bar shape algorithm first. Then you'll have to do the right angle algorithm after that. Either way, you'll just be doing two algorithms instead of one if you have no yellow edges oriented. So no matter what case you have, all you want to do is use this one algorithm until you get a specific shape. So from this case, or whichever case you have, you'll want to do this algorithm. R, U, R prime, U, R, U2, R prime. And if it seems familiar, it should be because this is the algorithm that I taught earlier. And so we're just going to keep doing this algorithm, R, U, R prime, U, R, U2, R prime. And then we're just going to keep doing it. Until we get this shape. Now, I don't know if you see it, but I like to call this a fish shape. And what you want to do is, if we imagine this is the head of the fish, then we're going to want it to point in this direction. And then we're going to do the algorithm. And sometimes we'll have to do it twice. R, U, R prime, U, R, U2, R prime. And as you can see, that solved the corners and the whole yellow side. So for this next step, we're going to focus on the corners of the last layer. There's a few possible cases you can have. You can either have one set of matching corners, or as I like to call them, headlights. You can have none of the corners matching, so you'd have none of them matching. Or you could have all of them matching. And if that happens, then you can skip to a little later in the video. When you have one set of matching corners, like what we have here, then what you're going to do is turn the cube so that you have them facing away from you, or in the back. After this, we're going to perform this algorithm. R prime, F, R prime, then B2, this back layer right here, R, F prime, R prime, B2 again, and then lastly R2. And as you can see, now all of the corners are matching, and now we have headlights everywhere. Now, if you have no headlights at all, like we have here, where none of the corners are matching, then all you have to do is do the same algorithm as if you had headlights. Then what we're going to do is just do the algorithm. And after that, you'll see that we do get headlights. And then we'll do it as the same as before. We'll turn it away from us, put it in the back, and then do the algorithm, which I'll explain one more time. R prime, F, R prime, B2, R, F prime, R prime, B2, and R2. And as you can see, we have all matching corners now. So basically, you just have to do the algorithm twice. Now we have all of the corners matching, and we've only got to move the edges of the last layer. Here are some of the possible cases you could have. For now, we're just going to focus on 2 of these 4 cases. They should look something like this. Now these 2 might look similar, but if you look carefully, you'll notice that in one case, the edges have to move in a counterclockwise direction. And in the other case, the edges have to move in a clockwise direction. And if counterclockwise and clockwise are a bit confusing for you, then you can just think of it like this. Take this solved block and put it away from you, and then look at this edge that's facing you, this color right here. And if it has to go to the left, right here, in which case it does, then that's clockwise. In the other case, it's the opposite. If you put this in the back, right there, and then you look at this edge, it has to go to the right. So then this would be counterclockwise. And now here are the algorithms for those 2 cases. Here's the clockwise algorithm, and just a reminder, this is if, when you put the block away from you, this edge right here has to go to the left. Or you could think of it as this goes here, and this goes here, which is a clockwise cycle. And so the algorithm is R2, U, R, U, R prime, U prime, R prime, U prime, R prime, U, and lastly, R prime. Here's the counterclockwise algorithm. And another reminder, this is if this edge has to go to the right, or if the pieces are going to rotate in a counterclockwise direction. So the algorithm is R, U prime, R, U, R, U, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, R2. Now, if you had one of the other 2 cases, then what you have to do is similar to if you had none of the edges facing up earlier when we were trying to solve the yellow cross. All you have to do is do one of the clockwise or the counterclockwise algorithm. This will get you to the cases that I taught just a second ago. Then perform whichever algorithm is necessary. So I'll do an example here. So here are the 2 cases. With this case, for example, let's try doing the counterclockwise algorithm. Then here, we get the counterclockwise algorithm. And so, we'll just do that algorithm again, and we're done. Now for this one, let's try doing the clockwise algorithm first. And keep in mind here, it doesn't really matter what side you're facing. For the counterclockwise and clockwise, you have to take the full block that's solved and put it in the back. But for these, it doesn't really matter. And when doing the clockwise algorithm, we get the clockwise case, and so we'll do that algorithm to finish it off. And that's the full tutorial. If you were able to solve the Rubik's Cube, congratulations. If not, don't give up, keep trying. But either way, thanks for watching the video, and it's awesome if you got all the way to the end. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of my future videos. Thanks for watching.